Welcome to the We're Libertarians Daily Podcast. I am Hody Johns, your host, and I am joined by a member who you might not have heard of before, but he is our most famous member outside of the circle here at We're Libertarians at the moment. Ryan Lindsey, editor of WAL Reader. Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, man. Doing great. Excited to talk to you today. Boy, we have a lot to cover. Let's save your fame for the end. Let's just talk about WAL Reader for a second. So, tell me about, I guess, your journey into editing in general.
Yeah, well, this is the first time I've ever done anything quite like this. But my job, I'm a tech writer, so I write like instruction manuals and stuff like that. So I write all day, every day. It's just what I do. And I've always liked writing just recreationally also. And I'm a huge fan of magazines. It's like podcasts and magazines are how I get all my media consumption in. So I think it was in January, Chris was talking about how he wanted to kind of expand the We Are Libertarians label to anybody who had an idea, a way to contribute. So that just got me thinking, like, I like magazines and I like We Are Libertarians. So what if I tried to combine the two? So I messaged Chris and was like, hey, like, what do you think about this? He's like, I love it. Like, that's a cool idea. And so I'm like, okay, awesome. And so I kind of fiddled around with it, and it took me a while to get started because I'm not the best at like recruiting people to help out with things and all. But yeah, and you helped out a lot with that. Once you heard about it, you were promoting it like crazy.
I am a better writer than I am a speaker. And that, I know it's saying a lot because I'm a great speaker. No, I mean, and I am aware of my background in speech and debate and all that, but it's, honestly, it is so much, I can say things more fluidly. Even now I'm kind of stuttering. Whereas I'm like, oh, I just know I can get that perfect word in just a second here. If I just get a second. And when you're speaking, you don't get that just a second. Now, sometimes people like that, like off the cuff sound. Some of our better episodes are when, one of our hosts has had too much to drink, and then we get a lot of reviews that way. But I just think editing's maybe a little bit more polished, or the written word is a little bit more polished, and you can just choose that perfect word and say exactly what you wanted to say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment.
Yeah. Cool. So let's talk about how it's come along. What was the first issue about, and why did you want to discuss that?
Yeah, so the first issue, it was just kind of a general introduction to how people felt about liberty, how they became a libertarian, just their political, philosophical journeys, etc. That was the bulk of it. And then, of course, there was some just smaller stuff, just like a book review and movie review, stuff like that. But this was a very introductory issue in nature. And so I found some people, and you found some people and sent them to me. And I think there was 6 or 7 of us just kind of wrote like, here's what I believe now, and here's why I believe it. And some people went like, here's what I used to believe. Here's how my ideas changed. So that's in general what the first issue is about. And most of those were pretty mainstream libertarian journeys. Lots of, I heard Ron Paul and then became a libertarian through that. But there was one in particular that kind of went away from the mainstream. Kenton's article about how his journey to becoming a libertarian socialist, and that's definitely the one that's got the most attention. Although I've heard lots of good stuff about several of the others also.
It was great to get all that positive feedback. I've heard from people that read the article on mine, said, yeah, I kind of had the same experience. I kind of came to it through the Tea Party. We had somebody talk about Dale's. He talked about his religious journey to it. And I just think there's a lot of different ways that people come to it. Now, the journal is very legit. You're a humble guy, and I'm sure you're not going to brag, and I know you said it's your first time, but if you're listening in right now and you're like, should I check this out? This is a very legitimate journal magazine. It is... It is like it's got pictures, there's space. It's one of those easy reads. And I kept looking, and I was like, is somebody sponsoring this or something? What's going on here? Like, how does it look this good? I almost like expected to flip it and see like sponsored by Xanax. And I was like, oh, okay, that's there we go. Somebody's got a dog in this fight. This can't just all be Ryan, right? But you had a really good vision for it, I can tell, right off the bat. And so that was cool. Now, it's quarterly, yes.
Yeah.
So that means
that's the plan.
All right. So once every 3 months or so. Do you know what the next one's going to be about?
I do not. I've kind of been brainstorming the past few days because I mentioned this in kind of my editor's note, I guess, for the first issue, that in future issues I want them all, or like the bulk of the content, to kind of revolve somewhat around a central idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been kind of tossing around some ideas for what that idea could be. And I set up a Facebook group for all the people who had contributed to issue 1. And so I'm going to try to get in there in the next couple of days and toss out that, get some feelers in, and see what the rest of you all think about some of those ideas I'm thinking of. Yeah, and I mean, the obvious one was like, the first one I thought of was, the election coming up. It's like everybody, like nobody wants to hear any more about that election right now. Like it's everywhere. So I think I tossed that one out already. But so yeah, we'll see. I wanted it to kind of be a democratic process with the contributors and also.
Sure. I mean, and that's tough too, when you have, 7 or 8 contributors and possibly more. I haven't even told you this. I got an email already from someone who would like to contribute regularly and be part of it, and even offered to help with the editing part if you needed it. Yeah, he was a huge fan, and I completely forgot until just now, so I got to forward that to you.
That's awesome.
Sorry, friend. I'm a good pal when it's convenient, but I will get that. I'll get that to you. But the response has been great. I think Dale calls it the crisis of infinite podcasts. There's a lot of podcasts. There's really not a lot of journaling going on.
Shame.
It is. I mean, it's funny because it used to be a big deal to be like, oh yeah, I'm a published author, I'm a published journalist. And now it's like, man, if you write at all, you can be published. People like there's very little salesmanship for it. And you really have to produce something amazing. You can't just go in and be like, I'll get better eventually. You kind of have to start at the top. And and it's no offense to you, I had very low expectations for the journal because I just said, it's a journal and it's hard to compete. There's very few, and there's few for a reason, because people are just listening more than they are reading now. And we've gotten some interest in the book club. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe people are going to read a little bit more. And then the response from this, where you have even people that hate us reading it because they need to see what we're up to, our rascally ways. So yeah, it's a great medium, and I'm glad that it's taking off. I'm really glad for your detractors. Now, if you're tuning into this and you're interested, we had a significant detractor, Patrick Smith, who runs Disenthrall. I've been on his show. I actually debated Larkin Rose on voting on his show. And that was a great debate. We actually hosted it here on Weird, or didn't host. We relinked that here on the Weird Libertarians Network, so you can hear that. Great tech guy, very polished show, but he decided to make the whole journal about one picture.
Not just the journal, like the entire We Are Libertarians network.
The network.
Like all, 7 years of it over one article.
Yeah, Chris was like, oh man, over 500 shows, over 3 million subscriptions, 10 million downloads, and you've decided to boil this down to one image. So what was that image, Mr. Controversy?
Right. So it's Kenton's article about how he became a libertarian socialist, and so in the magazine, it starts off with a big 2-page spread, and the background is a red and black anarcho-communist flag with like 2 hands joining each other in the middle. Mm-hmm. I think that it's like mutualism symbolism there. So that was on the website. It's that image on the very top, and it's a pretty big image. So whenever you first click on the article, like that's what you see, mm-hmm. and you have to actually like put some effort into scrolling down half an inch to see that it's not just that. But
well, and your job as a journalist is to generate that interest, right? It's to say, yes, you click on it and you see a big picture that makes people go, like in either a good or a bad way, and to draw you in, to draw in people that wouldn't ordinarily be interested, and to get people who are already interested really excited to keep reading. And that's part of your job. It's part of what you do, is to make it shocking. I mean, yes, we all know the clickbait headlines, which are gross, right? You just say, they're like, get a load of this genocide. And all you're doing is being like, so wait, it's just one politician who said, I don't like eating at restaurants with blacks. That's bad, but that's not exactly a call for genocide. I got clickbaited.
Right.
Yours is just a picture, and it's an accurate picture. There's a lot of history behind the image itself. You've had to explain that to death. If you look up libertarian socialism on Wikipedia, it's the picture. You can look up mutualism. I think mutualism does the black and orange flag. Maybe?
Yeah, black and orange.
Black and orange, but they'll respect the black and red too. The anarcho-communists, of course, were the most famous to embrace the black and red. You had them in the and of course the Les Miserables, right? The red, the blood of angry men, black, and so you got the red and blacks there that made it famous there. The idea, of course, is that this must just be the same as communism. Libertarian ANCOMs or libertarian socialism must be the same as communism. That's not how Kenton sees it, who actually wrote the article. That's not how you see it. That's not how I see it. And that's not how history sees it. So would you like to talk about that controversy a little bit?
Sure. And first thing, just to clarify, I'm not a libertarian socialist or an ANCOM. I definitely sympathize with the ideas, but I don't think I would call myself that. So the controversy was this guy from Disenthrall saw that, and he just posted it and was like, look what We Are Libertarians is. Like, they're just a platform for communists. And so we had to lots of us had to clarify, no, communism and anarcho-communism are very different ideologies. And in my mind, the main difference is state communism, they're okay with using force and initiating force. Anarcho-communism isn't. If you actually read through Kenton's article, at not one single point in there does he ever advocate for even using force, really, but especially not initiating force or actually hurting people or anything like that. So for me, that's the big difference. I'm not gonna publish something from a tanky or anything where they're like, oh, we need to, go in with machetes and guillotines and take out all the landlords. I'm not gonna publish that. That's not libertarian in my mind. But if all you're saying is I think it would be really great if we got rid of the state and then organized society around worker communes and egalitarian principles, there's nothing unlibertarian about that. Maybe it's utopian, sure, I'll give you that, but it's not statist or authoritarian in any way, I don't think.
No, Jack Deason and I had a 2-hour debate. He's a mutualist, which is just a type of socialist. He calls himself a socialist as well, so I have no problem saying what it is. Yeah. But and I disagree with him. I mean, I had a 2-hour debate with the guy. It's on the Enemy of the State Dank Podstash. It was a great show. I linked it over here. You can hear it on the We're Libertarians Network. It was a great show. But the thing is, at the end of the day, I don't want the state. We're both anarchists, right? We're both no state people. The difference is he thinks that we should organize one way. I see us organizing a different way. But it's voluntary. So if you're volunteering for it, it's really not that dangerous and scary. Now, the call is to just say, it's an unfortunate situation because I think that socialism is so muddied. I talked about when Mike Shipley came on the show, I talked with him about abandoning the phrase entirely. Mike actually had supported that point of view and said, let's call it something else. But he was outvoted. And even so, he said, well, that's still what I think. We're just calling it something different. So fine.
Right.
You want to call it socialism, we'll call it socialism. Marx got his idea from the founder of mutualism. In fact, his book, The Philosophy of Poverty, was based on the book Philosophy of Misery, Proudhon's book about the problems with capitalism that he saw and why we needed that. But mutualists, he is very adamant about saying the state is an unfit vehicle to organize any bit of socialism. And all Marx did was say, I disagree with that part. I like all the rest of your ideas. Let's just make it mandatory.
Right.
and look, George Orwell, who has the most famous book ever about the problems with socialism, was a socialist.
Yeah.
Look that up. The author of 1984 talks about the horrors of socialism, and he fought next to them in the wars and saw what they were going through and was totally freaked out by it. Was himself a socialist. The problem is the state mandating the socialism, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now tell me a little about why you. I guess what was your thought process when you decided to put it in there? I'm sure you knew it was going to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, so I know Kenton, like, in real life. We've been friends for several years now, and so I knew he was a libertarian socialist. And I was getting this put together, and so I had several people submitting stuff at this point. And one thing I was noticing, there's nothing wrong with it, but everybody so far was pretty much, they were coming from the right to the libertarian philosophy, which that probably is the majority of libertarians. I'd see at that point. But, I just kind of wanted to have some diversity in the magazine, I guess. I wanted, if somebody from the left just ever happened to see it for some reason, I want them to see, hey, there's room for you in this movement too. You don't have to have come from, Ron Paul or even Gary Johnson. Yep. You could be you could have ardent Bernie Sanders supporter or Elizabeth Warren or Tulsi Gabbard, and just see libertarianism isn't necessarily against the outcomes you want. It's more a problem with the means that you're advocating, but the ends, a lot of the times, I think they're the same for people on the left and libertarians. It's just we want different means. And that's something in one of the articles I wrote. I don't think most progressives, they don't have, their motives aren't oh, I want the state to be as big as possible. They just want people to be taken care of. They have pure motives. They're coming at it with good intentions, that we just disagree on the means. And I don't think that's really a good reason to view them as just absolute enemies.
Oh, absolutely not. And I applaud you. I think your value of diversity is so important. The idea that I bring this up often. When I was going through speech and debate, I had a bit of a cocky attitude, and my instructor showed me once this to help kind of give me some humility and compassion and empathy, because that relates to the judges when you're able to understand where the other side is coming from as opposed to just humiliate them. And showed me of the top 10 smartest people who ever took the IQ test, they're all different religions, they're all different political philosophies, they have a whole bunch of different ideas, and said it's not like you're not going to brain your way into one point of view. In fact, the smarter you get, the more individual you get. And that's what really that really got me interested. I didn't know at the time that there was libertarianism around. I was so busy debating left and right, and up until the point where I even graduated from college, I hadn't even considered a liberty position. But it was just so, I think it was so, it was so strong with me, and it stayed with me today, to say that Larry Sharp has a good example where he says, to make conversations positive, don't say you're against universal health care. Just say you're against mandating universal health care. Yeah. And I think you'd honestly be surprised how many Democrats and leftists are like, oh yeah, if you want to opt out, I think I support your right to opt out. Yeah, maybe there are some that won't. But yeah, I think there's a lot that are like, oh, sure. And in which case it's like, well, then we're not really enemies. You just want a system where everybody can buy into and be covered.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something, and I'm not going to exclude myself from this, but I think a lot of libertarians in general just have a problem with talking with issues like that. They just instantly take it to stop using the state to oppress me. If a leftist says, I want universal health care, I think the response would be, Me too. Like, if everybody had awesome healthcare, that'd be amazing. Like, I just don't want to use violence to achieve that goal. Or, even like, let's talk about guns. Like, if a leftist says America has a gun problem, don't just be like, don't take my guns. Be like, well, maybe like we should talk about, not like should we take guns from people, but why do people feel like they need 100 or like 200 guns in their homes, or why is there so much violence? Not saying we need to use the state to solve these problems, but just like ask the questions. I mean, that's something I want WAL Reader to do, is just not just look at this and be like, this is the libertarian stance on this, but actually ask these questions. And like, how can we address these questions without using the state or using violence in general?
Sure. I mean, the pro-gun movement used to be something that the left embraced and the right was cracking down on 20 years ago. Yeah. And I guess now we've come full circle and the right's back to cracking down on it again. Oh, well, that's identity politics at its finest, right? But, this is, and so it's following identity as opposed to policies. And I think that a lot of our communities are not used to having those conversations, and we vote for a politician who supports our package of ideas. And it kind of takes away from the discourse. But I applaud you. I think for me, I'm more proud to be published with a group of diversity. It's something that Chris noted was in our platform, that we give a voice to a lot of people. We treat you like adults, so you're going to hear some opinions you disagree with, Right. And what happens when you do? Well, look, I did a whole debate against socialism. I'm not a big fan, even at a voluntary basis, right? But here's the thing is that's my choice. And if my idea is really so good, I don't have to censor Kenton. I can have my article published literally right next to his and have people say, I kind of like his ideas better. We always talk about the way to solve a lot of gun violence is to get rid of these ignorant gun laws that crack down, these safe zones, these gun-free zones where people always end up getting murdered in masses, and say, if we have a problem with guns, the answer is more guns. If we have a problem with something, we just tolerate more of it and the winning ideas will come to the surface. The same goes for free speech. The best way to fight speech that you disagree with is with more speech that you do agree with. And so I am so pleased as punched and proud of the journal that it has decided to place as a value that diversity of thought, because it really is just an echo chamber otherwise. And honestly, the person and persons who were pissed off by it, they're echo chambers, right. They're upset.
Well, that was one of the things that was most confusing to me was one of the Mises caucus people was talking, and it's like, well, like, if you want to write something, or like somebody else wants to write something to like rebuke this for issue 2, go for it. And the consensus among them was just like, why would I want to be published like in a platform that gives voice to communists? It's like, that doesn't make any like that. I don't know. That mindset doesn't make sense to me.
Right. As though, Hitler's talk, like if you think it's literally Hitler talking and someone gives you an offer to go on a debate stage with him, wouldn't you take it? I mean, isn't that the best way to defeat Hitler, as opposed to what Hitler did, which is silence everybody else except for me? You say, oh, well, all of a sudden I have an equal platform and an equal voice. The fact that Chris took somebody who was, again, this is a 70-plus page journal. There's so many great images. There's great literature. It's more than just reading. I mean, it's a visual masterpiece, and you'll love it if you see it. But the fact that he boiled it all down to that one image for him. And he's just like, this is like you said, not just the journal. This is the whole magazine. This is the whole network. This is
whenever I saw that all happening, I messaged Chris because I thought he was going to be like, Ryan, you have to shut this down. And I was like, oh man, I'm in trouble. He was very gracious about it.
He was very gracious and really took the charge by saying like, hey, Patrick, you want to get published in the next one? Go write something up. Talk about how you hate it. We will publish you. Like, this is a non-censorship zone. I have talked to ANCAPs. For the network, we have libertarian socialists. We have anarchists. We have minarchists. We have right libertarians. We have left libertarians. Like, we have a whole bunch of people. We have registered Republicans and Democrats, for goodness sake. And so it's just like, look, this is clearly our show is absolutely not for the closed-minded. You will burn if this is for the closed-minded. If you just want to just do nothing but listen to your libertarian beliefs reaffirmed, this is a very bad, dark place for you.
Right.
And it feels like just like a beacon of sunlight on a vampire almost to the people that see it, to see that they're like, you're willing to even talk to him? You know?
Well, it's funny because that's like, I used to listen to, I was flooded with podcasts. I listened to like 10 different libertarian podcasts. Like, I have to narrow it down. Yeah. And one of the reasons why I kept listening to We Are Libertarians was because back in 2018, this was like the only network that gave like a fair look at the Libstock caucus. And like, I think you had Mike Shipley on a daily one time.
Yep.
And yeah, it's like you guys were the only ones who were looking at them like, hey, like, we disagree with you, but like, we still think like you have some libertarian ideas and we're willing to talk to you and like debate that in a polite, respectful way. And I don't know. I just think that's super important because libertarianism is so much more than just, anarcho-capitalism or, the Ron Paul strain of the movement. Like, those are very important parts of it, but it's a huge like rainbow of a movement. And I think it's wrong to just look at one segment of it and call that like the be all end all of libertarianism.
Right. Everybody else is not a real libertarian.
I hate that phrase.
Yeah. It's funny because, I got the ANCAP thing flag behind me and everything. Yeah. But even then I'm just not into the labels. It's a preference. For me, it's like saying I'm straight and I enjoy cake. It's like, well, those aren't even tied together. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to decrease the value of the state. And also I enjoy a nice rice bowl from Tokyo Joe's. It's like, that doesn't make it. Why does that matter? Like, is that so important? So whenever we have these differences of opinion, whether it's Mike Shipley or Jack Neeson or Matt Keno or whoever it may be, I think Matt actually went and joined the Democratic Socialists, and he's kind of cool. He's cool with some statism now, but with the people that aren't, it's just like, okay, hey, we're all cool with decreasing the amount of government in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then after that, it's like somebody being like, well, I really like coleslaw. And another guy's like, I'd rather have fries. And then just a whole war starting out because of that. And it's like, that had nothing to do with it. Like, that is nothing. It helps to paint a picture for some people to say, oh, after I've achieved a very minarchist or stateless society, how I will organize. And so I'm okay with you wanting to paint that picture for how you want to structure your community. It's helpful for me to know there are other capitalists, because that's comfortable, right, for me to say that, like, oh, okay, so after the state has fallen, I know I'll have a group of people that will respect my property, that believe in, in labor and fruits of my labor, and I know how that works, and I can't get voted out on my wage. I just make, I'm entitled to sell it for what I want to sell it at. I'm comfortable with that. Yep. But at the same time, wouldn't you want libertarian socialists to be comfortable as well? Because then after they get their stateless, they don't have to bug you anymore. They go to their own, they go to their commune. You know what I mean? Yeah. They go to, and if it sucks, then they leave, like,
right.
And so it's like, yeah, after I achieve statelessness, I'm going to spend all my time eating ice cream versus somebody else who's going to spend all their time eating flank steaks. It's just, why fight? Right. Why not be unified? And I should have thrown Kenton in on this well, as a guy who is reasonable, who you can talk with, who you might disagree with, maybe even philosophically disagree with, but we make more sense as friends than enemies. I know I've said this on the show before, but I really stress that because it's just, I see these fights boiling over among people that make a lot of sense as friends, that make no sense as enemies.
Right.
And me and Kenton would make terrible enemies. Terrible. I mean, I would have to strawman him. He would have to strawman me. We'd have to commit fallacies all the time. I'd have to pretend that he argued for oppression. He'd have to pretend that I support the current system of government. It's just lunacy, right? Yeah. And so, and the sad thing is I feel the same way about Patrick Smith, who unfortunately he unfriended me over this whole thing because I liked somebody, Chris's post saying like, hey dude, you need to chill out. Sorry. What I mean? It's fine. Like, it's not, unfortunately, that's his values, and here's the thing here's what it erased. We actually spoke, I don't want to get too much into his personal life, but I had some family matters and we spoke and I checked in to make sure he was okay. And we had a good friendship going. He gave me the heads up on a lot of technical stuff, like we had a real friendship, and it's worth burning down over this for him. And I'm just like, man, that makes no sense. Like, disagree with the article. You even disagree with my policy. Honestly, my brother Woody, I don't hear from him unless he disagrees with me. But he always does it respectfully, and we're still friends, and we're still brothers, and that's just our relationship, right? I know if I don't hear from him, I knocked it out of the park, right? So that's kind of my relationship with him.
There you go.
You know, and we have these great healthy debates over at the Enemy of the State. I contribute over there occasionally. We differ on a lot of subjects, whether it's evolution versus creationism or egoism or, you know, voting. We've had these disagreements, but we are like, hey, but we make more sense as friends, right? Like, we still laugh at each other's memes. We still add a lot of value to each other's lives. So why fight? And I guess, so for me, look, I guess we're getting to the point where we need to do some closing statements here. This journal will add value to your life if you're listening to it. It is great. If you don't think you like journals, this journal will probably make you like them again. This magazine is awesome. Again, it's walreader.com. I have it on the bottom if you're looking at if you're looking at the video right now. I have a link to it on the bottom. You can also get it at Amazon. In fact, I should probably have you do all that stuff. But let me wrap up with my closing statements on it. I am so proud to be a part of it. I really hope it continues to take off. Thankfully, it's really taken off today, thanks to our enemies who want to hate it, are making it more popular than ever. And as a result, people that hate it are driven to the site, and they're going to read an article written by me and find out they like me more. The influx of my friends list since yesterday has been absurd, right? Like, I have grown like 200 friends since yesterday who was like, hey, I just saw this on WAL Reader and I read your article and I was directed there by somebody who hates you now. And it's like, well, thank you, people who hate me now. You are useful idiots. You know, you've done a very good service for me, and I thank you for directing your traffic here. But Ryan, give me both your last words, I guess, both about the book, and then of course where they can best help to make you most popular, whether it be contributing or buying the magazine or whatever. Give us all the deets.
Yeah. I'm super happy with how the first issue turned out. I'm excited to get started on issue number 2. And of course, if you have any feedback at all, feel free to send that to us. Like Hody said, you can find the magazine. We have a website, just walreader.com. You can view a free PDF version of the magazine there. Or if you want, we have it on Amazon Kindle. It's $3. $2 of those dollars is just what Amazon charges. They get that. But then the other $1 I'm going to send right back to We Are Libertarians Patreon account. So you can send WAL some money that way. And hopefully I'm in a strife with Amazon right now, but I'm trying to get it physical copies of that for sale on there as well if you're interested in that. And of course, if you want to submit anything for a future issue, you can get a hold of me or the WAL Reader Facebook page or We Are Libertarians. I'll publish any libertarian content, just no tankies and no fascists. But other than that, I'm open.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Obviously, open invitation to talk about it again. I think we should probably at least try to do this quarterly when you release the magazine, and so that way we can talk about what the latest episode and everything's about. Because hey, if it's not controversial the day it gets released, it's gonna get there, I'm sure. And so people want to be talking about it. But yeah, join in. Contact Ryan if you got any questions, want to contribute. Again, I will remember to forward you that email. But thanks so much for doing it, man. I really am. I'm so excited for it. I really hope it takes off. I am a million times better on the page than I am in speaking in the talking department. And so I only have this job because nobody does read. So please read so that you can please hear me stop talking. This nasally voice thing needs to go away from the radio forever. So let's make WAL Reader popular and put me out of this job so I can do that job full time. Yeah. Anyhow, thanks again, Ryan. You have a good one, man. And everybody, join in, support us on Patreon, buy the book, get it online. And until then, keep fueling the fires of liberty.